Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. Now, before we get into it, I'd just like to inform you about a new website selling quality current and retro Spurs jerseys, okjersey.com. They sell all current and retro Tottenham Hotspur shirts in all sizes. They sell the current fan and player versions, as well as the 80s and 90s retro shirts, including my very favourite, the 1991 FA Cup final shirt. You can order very easily from okjersey.com, and if you use the code Chris, you will receive an 8% discount off your final order. You can also use the QR code on the top left of your screen. And by the way, they also have some training wear here and the 25-26 colour special edition jersey.
Happy New Year, everyone. Brentford 0, Tottenham Hotspur 0. Now, welcome back to the Spurs Chat Podcast. We are live on YouTube, X and Facebook. Please do get involved in this one. Let us know how you are feeling about that very, very poor performance, 0-0 draw at the G-Tech Community Stadium this evening. Now, we actually went 137 Premier League games without a goalless draw. Boring, boring Tottenham were the cries from the Tottenham Hotspur away end. They also chanted, "We want our money back." And in the first half, the away end sung songs about Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, Moussa Dembele, Eric Dyer, Lennon, King, Jan, Toby, even Soldado got a mention. Of course, we are on the first day of the January transfer window, and Thomas Frank, I believe, is crying out for players, particularly in the creative areas. Now, in this episode, as per usual, we've got three very special guests with us. Back with us is actor Ricky Norwood. Ricky, how are you?
I'm very well. Happy New Year to you, Chris. Happy New Year, Blake. Congratulations on the marriage. Happy New Year to you, Leigh, all the way in New York there, representing Tottenham Hotspur. Loving that. Sending big love out to you, gentlemen, all your families as well. It's a new year. It's a new day. And we're back. We're here. I'm going to try and keep it light and lively today because I've been a miserable sod the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to try, Tottenham, what are we going to do? I'm just happy to be back on with you beautiful gentlemen on the panel and all of you beautiful people around the world. Make sure you like, comment, let us know how you're feeling because it's confused.com for me, my friend. So I can't wait to jump into it, Chris. Let's have it. Let's start 2026 off to a banger. Come on.
Also back with us is Leigh Baker, all the way from New York. Leigh, how are you?
Hello. Thanks for having me back. Lovely to see you two gentlemen as well, because two of my faves. You're not a dating site, Chris, but I made friends with these two because of you. So, it's not bad going. Well, I tell you what, that didn't do much for my hangover. I'll say that as New Year's Day goes. But another year. Let's try and think optimistically. Let's try and be a bit like Blake. Always see the upside. And let's get into it. Be a good chat.
Well, I can tell you what, it feels like a long year already, and we're only one day in. Also back with us is Blake Derrer, all the way from Australia. Blake, how are you?
Happy New Year to everyone watching all around the world. It's great to be back with the three of you. I know everyone said that already, but it truly is. And obviously a pretty disappointing result today. Goes without saying. But let's chew the fat together and get into it.
So Tottenham Hotspur drew 0-0 this evening against Brentford at the G-Tech Community Stadium. The possession today, Brentford 56% to Tottenham's 44%. XG, Brentford 0.83 to Tottenham's 1.01. Brentford shots 7, Tottenham 9. Brentford shots on target 2, Spurs 3. Total touches inside the opposition box, Brentford 20, Tottenham 18. Goalkeeper saves 2 apiece. Aerial duels 1, Brentford 15, Spurs 18. Fouls committed, Brentford 8, Spurs 10. And corners, Brentford had 3 to Tottenham's 1. Blake, let's come to you first of all. What did you make of that performance today? Because when the away end are singing or chanting songs, boring Tottenham, and we want our money back, does that say where we are right now?
Absolutely, it does. I think that was, correct me if I'm wrong, the 12th or 13th match this season where we have not registered a shot on target in the first half. And I think that says enough about the way that we want to play our football. You list 2 goalkeepers on the bench with 3 defenders, not really any like-for-like substitutions that can differ the game or shift the game. The double pivot in midfield said enough, and our goalkeeper, our number one, getting booked at the 60th minute mark for time wasting. I think it goes to show exactly the mindset that we went into that game with. It's disappointing, and as you touched on, Chris, that was the 137th game. We went 137 games without 0-0, and the last time we did that was against Thomas Frank's Brentford in 2022. Anyway, those stats in itself into this game, I went in hopeful for this one. I thought we, despite it being a pretty rubbish game overall against Palace, we grinded out a victory, and I thought that would set us on our way. But it really did feel like not much of a performance today. We went there with the mentality of if we don't win, let's just not lose. And I think that's really a disappointing stance from a club of Tottenham stature. Let's be honest about it. We are a big club in the Premier League. We are one of the top clubs. And for us to go in with that mentality, to go to a club at Brentford that's mid-table, the manager at times even pointing out things such as, are we really that good? We finished 17th last year in press conferences and calling out fans. It's alarm bells for me personally. And I try to be as positive as I can, as you guys know, but this is just the facts in front of us right now. And it feels to me like there is alarm bells ringing. He needs reinforcements. We've not replaced our beloved previous captain, Heung-min Son, on the left. And it shows every match. We go to Kudos for our creativity, and we don't have anything that stands out right at this moment. So, yeah, perhaps there are things to look at in the window, which is now open. But in terms of our performance today, very lackluster, very average.
Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's performance.
Well, hopefully you guys can hear me because I'm having sync issues at the moment, all right? So I'll rant on and then you let me know, okay? Okay, so my thoughts, okay, because it's a new year, it's a new day. I'm optimistic for myself. I've got life goals and things that I want to achieve. So I was like, I'm going to take the same fresh approach with Tottenham today and let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Let's see how we start the new year. Now, look, there was a couple of results that were 0-0 tonight across the Premier League. You could say it's the hangover of New Year's Eve and this Christmas schedule. And so maybe that had something to do with it. I mean, not from my point of view, but maybe, okay? So looking at the positives today, I tried to look at the game with a positive light as much as I could do. And defensively, pretty solid. I think there was a lot of ground to be covered in the defensive areas. There was some nice link-up play from Richarlison. I don't want to praise him too much because every time I do praise him, then he falls off a cliff again. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully he stays on the track that he's going. But there was some nice link-up play from Richarlison today. But I mean, if you look at it from the boss's point of view, from Frank's point of view, I think today was a perfect game. I think that we played pretty much exactly how Brentford played. It's tough to really be positive with it. But it was a 0-0. It was a clean sheet. It was away from home. Yada, yada, yada. So from Frank's point of view, it's probably another positive result. And
Ricky,
it was all about Frank today, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? The pre-match stuff and leading up to it and the kickoff and stuff. Go on, Chris.
I was going to say, with all due respect,
I
you're
thought
sounding...
you put your hand out. I thought he was going to jump in there.
Yeah, you're sounding like Thomas Frank.
Mate, I'm trying. If you've heard recently, mate, it's like I've been criticised for being as honest as possible. So I thought I would start tonight trying to look at the positives, right? If there were any, and those are the things. If you're asking me, bro, I stand by what I've said on previous pods in the sense that it's got to the point where I really don't believe anything. I don't believe Frank as an inspirational manager like that. You know, this 0-0 XG is become part of Frank Ball. No through balls through the middle of the park has become part of Frank Ball. No shots in the first half or up until the 70th minute of the second half has become part of Frank Ball. Well, I want to be positive about the boys. I want to be positive about what's going forward, but it just feels like a confused.com type of team. I don't know what to say, bro. It's almost like, I don't want to say I've written off the season. I haven't, but it's almost like this is what we've got, and this is what it's going to be for the rest of the season. So I'm trying to get to grips with it, is where I'm coming from. So that's why I'm a bit mishmash tonight.
Leigh, let's get your thoughts on today's 0-0.
Yeah, I mean, I echo what the guys just said. I mean, it's tricky, right? Because if you think about 2 away games over the holidays and we get 4 points from 6, you go, that's not bad. We'll take that. I'm trying to do the positives. We battled, we dug in, we ran. I think everyone gave everything for the cause. I also think, you know, I was messaging with Blake during the game that we looked really thin. Like, you look at the bench, who was on there, Johnson. I'm sure we'll talk about him in a bit, but because we've got players out, AFCON, injury, suspension, all of a sudden we look very, very thin. And that midfield, there was never going to be any creativity from that midfield. I think we hoped for it, but it didn't come. So it was kind of, unfortunately, more of the same. I think the thing that we battle with as Spurs fans, and I am a Frank fan, although it's kind of getting harder, I guess, to be so supportive because the evidence isn't there. I think the thing we battle with as Spurs fans is, you know, our whole philosophy is to dare is to do, right? The whole manner in which we play is a key component of our DNA. It kind of makes us who we are. So I look at 4 points from 6 and go, great, but it's been turgid, hasn't it? It's been really turgid. And you see people can't string passes together. It's kind of hit and hope. It's almost like 1990s football, like just long ball down the channels, hope for the knockdowns on the second ball. It's like, I don't really know who we're watching. It was almost like Ricky was alluding to, it was almost like we were the worst Brentford. We were playing Brentford, but we were like the worst version of Brentford. So it's like, I'll take the positives in terms of, I think, the spirit, the competitiveness, the fact we picked up another point, but the manner in which we're playing is worrying. We look desperately unbalanced. I mean, Spence, I thought, had a really poor game. Positionally, was all over the place. We really miss a doggy, and hopefully we'll sign a left back. But yeah, we just seem very, very out of sorts. And in fact, I think Brentford had the best 2 chances. We could easily have lost that 2-0 if we're being absolutely honest about it.
Leigh, can we keep playing like this? Because the fans, you know, when you get your own fan base saying, boring, boring Tottenham, and we want our money back, can we keep playing like this?
No, we probably can't. And I didn't know it was us singing it till I saw your socials ahead of this. I thought the Brentford fans were being deeply ironic. I didn't realise it was our own fans being deeply ironic.
They were. Brentford was singing it first, and then Spurs actually copied, and then said we want our money back. And then the fact that the Spurs away end was singing in the first half about all of the former stars that we'd had, I think it was a real dig at the board, actually, to say, look, these are the players that we used to have, and we're not singing about the current so-called stars.
Yeah, I heard the Dele Alli song, which kind of made me smile. I hope that filtered through to him somewhere and gave him a warm hug, you know. But no, we can't keep playing like this because it's like, those of us who are old enough, it's like watching George Graham's Tottenham, and it's painful, you know.
No, but do you know what? What's the contrast though, lads? What's the contrast? If you look at the Brentford game at home, right, and we haven't had the greatest home record, as we know. But the Brentford game at home, first touch football, playing that overlap ball, we dominated that whole game, whether it was possession, high press, etc., etc. We attacked, and then you get to this game, a couple of weeks later, and it's the total kind of opposite. Contained, let's be strong, let's be. If you wanted to be brave at any point, and Frank being the adaptable man, well, go 4-4-2 and put Colo up front with Richarlison. Play Odebear on the left, play Kudos on the right, and then play Bentancur and Gray or Paulinho and Gray or whatever your combination is. But that would have been a brave move, on 60 minutes, or chuck in Tell on the left and Colo alongside Richie and leaving Kudos where he was. When Kudos came into the middle, he he can play that and he is good at doing that. But today he created more chaos for ourselves rather than for them in the middle. Why not let Colo go in there again? Do you know what I mean? So it's like there's certain decisions that are being made and you kind of go, well, you talk about bravery, you talk about to dare is to do, and he said it in the press conference again. And like I said to you a couple of weeks ago, I'm taking this guy very literal. I'm taking him literal now. Instead of going, what's he trying to say? What's the subtext of this conversation? I'm taking him literal. He said that we was going to have, how many? Was it 10 shit games? Is that what he said? I think he said that. Do you know what I mean? Many a time. So this was another one, was it? Do you know what I mean? Like, so...
Okay. You just said it there. 10 shit games. We're 19 games in. We're halfway in the Premier League campaign. How many shit games have you seen?
Bruv, more than that. Let me tell you, more than that. But that's not even a point. Like, so where I'm coming from and where we're coming from as fans is a different point to where Frank's coming from, and this is where what the club have bought into. Do you know what I mean? Like, tonight was a good game from a Frank point of view, from how we've heard him speak in the past. When we've seen terrible games and we've got away with it, 0-0, he's gone, yeah, that's been a great game for us. And we're all looking at each other going, what was he talking about? So I just don't know where we are, bro. I don't know where we are. I look at that and I've seen that many a time. Probably more than 10 times already. That's what it feels like in my heart anyway. And this is what we've got, bro. I don't know what like I said, many a week, I need something to hold on to and go, this is what we're going for. This is the direction. This is we're building from the bottom. We're working it out. We're building our base so that we can then play this attacking, front-footed football. And we're going to go in this. And all we need is a couple more signings here and there. And then we're on it. I don't see it. I don't know what it is still, apart from taking it literal and going, this is what Frank Ball is what we saw tonight. Because we've seen this tonight many more times than we've seen an attacking display.
Ricky, after performances, particularly like this evening, I'm with you in the fact that I need something to hold on to. But I feel like my hands are slipping off and rapid. They are slipping. What are you holding on to?
No, mate, I'm not. Do you know what I mean? Like, I got to that point. Like I said, after the Gooner game, the Chelsea game was unforgivable. But you've got to learn the lessons from that. But when you go into the Gooner game, to pass sideways, to stay back, to be contained, to just to hold everybody back, and then when you actually get a forward move or a chance to attack, you horseshoe it back to Vicario. I said, nah, come on. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was a sackable offence for me. So from then, I started looking at it at a different light. And I have not seen anything that I can hold on to say, this is going to be good. Let's just keep watering this seed. It's going to be really, really good. It's going to, bear fruit in just a couple of months. I've got nothing to hold on to from that. I'm trying to accept what we got because the Frank inners have been almost like, on the wavelength being like we're being too negative, or maybe I've been too negative, but I've just spoke honestly from what I see and what I feel. I stated the positives today. I tried. There's not many. The positive. The only thing that we can almost grasp from this little thing is to try and accept it for what it is, or make a damn move. And I don't think we're making a move, mate. I've got a feeling that whatever happens, he's going to be in charge until the end of the season. So where do we go from here, sort of thing? Do you know what I mean? I don't know, Chris. How do you feel, man? Because you was in that away end, you were singing those songs. I've got to say a big shout out to the away fans because they were absolutely tremendous. They were the thing that kept me going in that game because there was many a time that I nearly fell asleep. Telling you, brother. So, you know, like, big up to the away fans. But bro, you was in it. What's the feeling amongst those away fans? Because those are some of the most loyal and dedicated supporters, you know, in the world, bro.
Deflated and frustrated is probably the two words that I can describe how that away end felt this evening. Some people left at 60 minutes, some people left at 70 minutes. They'd had enough. And people were checking their phones and people were talking and, you know, they just weren't entertained at all. And this is, you know, very sad to see. And like I said, you know, when they're singing those songs about those former players in the first half, and then, you know, witnessing that firsthand, that the fans are calling us boring and we want our money back. I tell you what, how we have fallen very, very quickly. And I just think that the club need to make a change at this point because this can't continue. The way that we are playing like this is not sustainable to be moving up the Premier League table. We're not going to be winning games week by week. And, you know, two of you out of the three of you so far, and we're only 20 minutes in, have mentioned our motto, to dare is to do. We are not daring and we are not doing. Vicario looked absolutely delighted when we'd got that point. And we were time wasting to get a point away at Brentford. Is this what we are really about under Thomas Frank? Being pleased with a point away from home. Thomas Frank coming over to the away end, the closer he got, and I tell you what, that guy's got some balls because the closer he got to the away end, the louder the boos got. And then he suddenly realised, oh, those boos are for me. And he's actually come out in the press conference and said those boos were probably fair, given what you know, that was, you know, what was on display this evening. But I just feel really deflated, Ricky. I tell you, I like to see the positives in things, particularly my football club that I go to, you know, home and away. And I want to see signs of things progressing, moving forward. And you want to see signs week by week that things are going to get better. And you can see little, you know, that even if they're little signs to move forward. This is worse. This is worse football. You know, I prefer football under Ange Postecoglou last season, and we had 22 league defeats. This is shocking. I don't know how long this can continue because when the fan base gives up and the fan base really criticises and boos the manager, how long does the manager have left?
I agree with you.
That was poor. That was really, really, really poor. And you know, how on earth can we keep playing like this and it be sustainable for a club to be successful? Yeah. Perhaps.
No, it's tough. But he needs to be careful though. Do you know what I mean? Like, because in his press conference, and I'll say this and I'll shut up, I promise. But in his press conference, he spoke about some fan telling him to keep on going, and you know, there's some fans that like to hide behind the keyboard and they wouldn't say it to his face. Really and truly, the only reason that it hasn't been said to his quote-unquote face is out of politeness. It's because we don't want to hate him. We don't want to hoard him out. We want better. So when you've heard boos and derision, it's a sign of going, you need to fix up, look sharp. Do you know what I mean? We need to see better than this. But he needs to be careful because, listen, you know, like Tottenham fans, only last season went at it with Ange. They told Ange to his face. And you don't want the whole of the Tottenham Hotspur home crowd getting in your face, bro, because it, you know, don't invite that pressure. I like that he's a fighter. I like that he's standing up for himself. But we obviously, us as fans, we need to see more on the field and we need to see performances that we can get behind. Right now, there's nothing that we can get behind. And if he keeps inviting that type of pressure and on himself, you know, and he's goading the fans because he's been goading us for a little bit. He's been poking us back for a little bit. And like I say, I like his fight. I like that he wants to stand up for himself. But when it turns, it's going to turn bad. And I think we've all seen it when it's gone really, really bad. And I hope that it doesn't get to that point.
He's used the term loyal fans before, which I don't see how you can use that anyway, because everyone is a loyal fan no matter how you support this football club. So I wouldn't ever choose to call someone more loyal as a fan than somebody else. I think that is a complete mistake on his part. But the away end today, they did not shy away. They are not sitting behind the keyboard. They told him exactly how they felt. And I must say that the away end at that point was probably about half empty because people had exited very, very quickly. How this can continue, I don't know. We cannot keep playing the way that we are. It is boring football. I said this a couple of months ago. I was absolutely battered on X when we played Manchester United, and I turned around and said on Sky that this was really boring and a lot of fans were really bored, because that was the word that everybody used all day. How can this style of football be played at Tottenham Hotspur when it's funny? You look at so many of the comments. People are saying, "I support Spurs because of the way that we played. I was brought up with entertaining football." This isn't entertaining at all. Everyone was bored this evening. Can I just ask each of you where you are on Thomas Frank, on how you feel about him at the moment, and how far you think that he can take us as a football club? Because we're the January transfer window's open. Yes, Leigh, you're absolutely right. We'll talk about the departure of Brennan Johnson, which a lot of fans feel is a little bit strange, particularly how we haven't got somebody in first. Leigh, where are you on Thomas Frank right now?
I sense I'm going to be in the minority on this call, but I'm battling with myself a bit because I've been such a fan of Frank for a long time, and I really wanted him at Spurs. And there's something in my conscience that sort of I don't want to kind of flip flop on myself and suddenly say, "Oh, Frank out," because I'm trying to sort of be principled, I guess, with myself that okay, I believed in him. But at the end of the day, even today, actually, I was in my head still thinking we're a third of the season in, which I know is dumb. We're halfway through the season. So you go, well, there's plenty of evidence there. So I think where I'm at is a bit of a sort of conflict in my own head where I'm like, one side of me is all the reasons I liked Frank, all what I think he succeeded at Brentford. This is a guy who was interviewed for the Chelsea job, the United job. We weren't after him, and so I'm like, well, give him the season, right? Give him the season. Who else is out there? Poch, the spectre. Like, we all love Poch. Maybe Poch is the guy who could unite the fan base 12 months from now after the World Cup. So one side of me is very much like, let's give the guy time, but your eyes don't lie, and it's pretty obvious it's not working. So a bit like Ricky said, you sort of crumbs of comfort. You think, oh, one or two signings. You hope players come back. You hope Kulusevski comes back. You hope Solanke comes back, and you think it will change. But it's that classic quote: "Hope is not a strategy," right? It's just not. So I'm increasingly thinking that this can't go on. I hope that he succeeds and that he finds a way to turn it around. I hope that our next game you show some performance. But unfortunately, at the moment, there's not much to go on, and it's really hard, to argue against any of the sentiment. And if I think about a barometer, first of all, when Ricky started to get really like pessimistic and negative a few weeks back, I was like, well, the world this is a sign. And then hearing you, Chris, and you are incredibly principled and you're very balanced in your opinion. To hear what you just said, I can't really argue against it. So I'm hoping for the best, but I'm worried.
I was going to say the biggest thing for me is the fact that, and the biggest worry for me is the fact that the manager is happy with some of these performances. He's happy with some of these results. That rings alarm bells to me. And the fact that I feel that Thomas Frank doesn't get some situations, he doesn't get the fact that he's criticised the fans a number of times, he doesn't see that as a negative. And I'm going to read this quote out here in the press conference just now. Thomas Frank on whether fans who are booing need to be more understanding. He said, that question is very difficult for me to answer. Going off a few boos after the game And as I say, I'm not really reading anything on social media or articles at all. I watch the team. I'm very aware that we are not where we want us to be. Now, he's talking about a few boos there. He spoke out in the pre-match press conference about, talking to that one fan in Covent Garden. And then he said about people hiding behind, keyboards. These people weren't hiding behind keyboards this evening. These are people, and I use his term, loyal fans who go home and away, who spend a lot of money travelling up and down the country, across Europe, around the world, etc. And these fans are there week in, week out, whatever the weather, and they showed or expressed their concern and told Thomas Frank how they feel. And he said it's a few boos.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, even just the beginning, it doesn't, unfortunately, because he's obviously a super smart guy, but he's a bit of he kind of over communicates sometimes. But I thought it was extremely weird at the beginning. I don't know if you could see it from your vantage point, Chris, but the stadium was all blacked out and he came out in the dark and then he waited till the lights came on and then he kind of ran on the pitch and started clapping the Brentford fans. Yeah. I was like, that's weird. You know, that's a weird move.
Yeah. Blake, let's come to you. Let's get your take on where you are with Thomas Frank, particularly as you are in Australia and so many people still love Ange Postecoglou and a lot of people didn't want him sacked in the first place.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, team, because I think it's on record. I came on the day that Ange Postecoglou was departed, and I said around the Thomas Frank rumours that we were signing him that it didn't excite me. And there was a good reason for that, because I see the football now and it's turgid. It's not exciting. Fans are getting upset with the style of football that we're playing. And the sentiment overall here is that it's not sustainable football. You could argue that Ange's football wasn't sustainable, but at least we were being entertained. We were in the running for a Europa League trophy, which we went on and won. There doesn't feel like there's anything to hold on to at this point in time. We've got a really tough cup fixture coming up against Villa. I don't see us being victorious in that. He's happy for shots to be taken outside of the box, which is a big positive for Villa because they love having those shots and building up under Emery, and they've obviously had great success around that recently. You take away the Super Cup and the first 2, 3, 4 games of this Premier League season, and it has been really hard viewing. As an example, I get up at all hours to watch Spurs. There's been games at 1:30. There's been games at midnight kickoff. There's been 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I got up at 3 a.m. for the North London derby against the Gooners, and it was the hardest watch I've ever had because they're the games that you are up for. They're the games that you want to go out and see 110% maximum effort from all your players. And it just looked like we were lost. We were neither here nor there. And I think his biggest problem at the moment, aside from attacking the fans, is that he has gone too pragmatic in his approach. Sometimes we're sitting back, we're hoping for a result. We hit teams on the counter where we can. There's not a lot of attacking power at this stage in the team. But then on the other hand, sometimes he'll try attacking football. I'm finding perhaps it's a little bit too late in the piece a lot of the time. 10 minutes to go, he brings on Cowlin, tries to shift the game a little. Is it a bit of a smoke and mirror image? I'm not really sure. But where I'm at with it is that I know for certain that the football doesn't excite me, and I know for certain that fans are not going to sustain this forever. They want to see their Tottenham taking this game on, and it doesn't look like that's happening at the moment, Chris. So, yeah, as Leigh said and Rick, it feels like the alarm bells are ringing. I don't know where we go from here because the board at the top continuously change these managers. They bring in players that suit one manager, but they're not the next one or two because they don't know what the identity is. They don't know what the identity of the football is, and they kind of just very reactionary until we get better leadership at the top, which I hope is through Vinay. He did a good job at our rival club, but yeah, there's a lot wrong. And as I said on the fan show previously with you, Chris and Craig, it's a much bigger systematic issue than the manager. However, at the moment, the manager is not helping the situation. So that's a long spiel, but that's where I'm at with Thomas Frank at the moment.
Blake, do you think some of our fan base, including someone like me, is probably expecting too much and we should be celebrating a 0-0 away at Brentford?
Absolutely not. No, I don't buy into this notion that we are a bottom half team. Do I think we need to improve the squad? Yes, I certainly do. Like there is always room for improvement. If you look at how City Group operate, they are continuously changing the team, even if they are winning championships and Premier League titles, Champions League titles. Teams are consistently changing, and we are really bad at moving players on. I don't buy into this notion that we are a bottom half team. I would say we are probably somewhere around the top 8, maybe at 8th, 9th, 10th. But I don't buy into this notion that we are 17th. And it actually really upset me when Thomas Frank came out in that presser and said, "Oh, well, perhaps we have to be realistic of where we are because we did finish 17th last year or last season." It didn't sit well with me because though that takes away, for me personally, as a fan, that takes away our achievement of ending our trophy drought, qualifying for Europe via the Europa League, which we clearly put our eggs into all that basket to try and qualify and parachute our way into a Champions League spot. It feels like he's tone deaf with the fans in that regard because he's taking away the achievements of the club that he's working at. I don't buy into this notion that we're a bottom 4 team fighting for relegation. If this continues the way that it does, we're going to grind out results. We are potentially pushing ourselves further down the table. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that as well.
Ricky, where are you at with Thomas Frank? Is he the right fit for Tottenham going forward? Because when you look at the league position, Spurs are 12th at the moment, 26 points from the opening 19 games. We're exactly the halfway point of this Premier League campaign. We're 7 points away from the top 4. We're 8 points above 17th, where we finished last season under Ange Postecoglou. Where are you at with Thomas Frank, and how would you assess the first half of the season under Thomas Frank?
That's tough, bro. Where am I at with Thomas Frank? Well, he wasn't my top pick when Ange left. And if Ange was gonna go, my requirement was for us to have a manager that took us on. Right, that was a manager above that could take us on forward. If you're gonna get rid of him, okay. I didn't think that Frank was that guy, but once we got into preseason, I'm like, okay, cool. We start again. We've done this before. We go again, right? So there was so many good things in preseason. You saw a lot of good things in preseason. One of the anomalies that you saw in preseason was 2 training games that one finished 0-0 and the other one finished 1-0 with a Sonny goal, if I remember the story correctly. So that was probably a hint of what was to come. But you're thinking, all right, cool, we're working on our foundations. We did leak a lot of goals. We knew that the Ange Postecoglou way of football was high risk, high reward. So our line was very high, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We know. So this is a different style. Okay, cool. And we start to see glimpses of good things. Super Cup, I saw a lot of good things. I saw us being defensively solid, a unified team. We was on the front foot, but we was aggressive. We used our aggression tremendously. We really kind of upset and frustrated PSG. And I was like, okay, cool. All right. The subs didn't help. And almost trying to contain the game and trying to protect that 2-0 that we had on 80 odd minutes was probably our downfall. And, we know which way it went. Okay. And then like Blake said, the first 3-4 couple of games in the Premier League, you're going, okay, cool. There's an adaptable coach there. There's somebody who's changing things up. Who's not afraid to change things up, to implement new systems, but still don't know what Frank Ball is. But we're seeing some good things, right? And if you remember, Chris, at those times, we were almost struggling of things to complain about. Not that we wanted to complain, but I remember one of the shows that we was just like, well, it's kind of strange not having much to complain about. We cracked a joke about it. And then for some strange reason, it's just gone over the hill, mate. Like I said, once we had varying games after that, but once we saw stuff like Bodo Glint and, that Monaco game and even the Villarreal game, there's been a couple that have just been really lackluster. And the one thing about Tottenham Hotspur that I love when we have a right manager, when you talk about the fit of manager, and this is why I think Ange was a good fit for us, because it's all about us and let them worry about us. Let the enemy worry about us. We're not going to worry about you. Yes, we know that there's a danger here and there, but you know what? The way that we play, the way that we attack, the way that we go at you, we're going to give you more things to worry about, and you're going to be confused, and you won't be able to implement your game plan because we'll be all over you. Ange done that, Poch done that. Do you know what I mean? To a T, perfectly. You know. So I like those things in a manager. This is not that. This is not that. I saw that, like I said, that Chelsea game was unbearable, and I couldn't believe it because there was no fight in us at all. We didn't go out there to win the game. We went to that game like we were Brentford or we were a League One side hoping to get a point. And you know what? If we got a point, that would be a win, but we didn't. And then we went into the Gooner game, and you're going, it can't go again. And the fact that we couldn't even lift our arm to throw a jab, forget a punch, just to throw a jab, I was like, that's a sackable offence. The fact that we didn't have we know that form goes out the window. It doesn't matter. All right, there's fight, there's fire, there's grit, there's desire, there's all of these things in the North London derby, and we were bereft of all of it. And when I saw that, I was just like, is this how we're going to go on? Is this what we would be like in a cup final going up against a Real Madrid? Just go, you know what? Let's concede possession, attacking, everything. We're just going to hold on, and in the last 10 minutes, we're going to try and get a goal and nick it 1-0. Like what I was, and so from that point onwards, my friend, it's been a very turbulent time for me watching this type of football. That's why I've started to take it literal. For me, is it a good fit? It's not. Do I see it going forward? I don't, because I haven't really seen those green shoots. I really haven't. I haven't seen a pattern of play where I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? There's been moments. There's been moments against sides we should win against anyway, and I've been impressed with those moments. But when it comes up against a side in which you kind of go, all right, cool, we need to get another win tonight, for instance. We need to get back-to-back wins. Let's keep that good feeling going. Something happens where it drops off a cliff, and that has to come from tactics. That horseshoe style of play has to come from tactics. You know, he spoke about not taking a risk is a risk. Well, mate, you know, I maybe he needs to look at the definition of risk again. Do you know what I mean? Like, there were so many things where he could have chopped and changed and made a brave approach to go forward tonight, and he didn't. Even when the subs come on, Colo came on earlier. It was Tell that came on in the last 10 minutes, and you could have brought both of them on at the same time. You could have made that change at the same time and gone, all right, and cool, go. Or you could have brought on Williams Barnett and put him on the bench or put in another youth instead of a second goalkeeper on the bench and kind of go, all right, and let's have a look. But there was no risk. There was a lot of good defensive display. Van der Ven done well. You know, Vicario had a couple of nice saves. Got booked for that time wasting. What's that about? But probably a part of the tactics. You know, he's probably been told that. Hold on to the ball as long as you can. Wait until A, B, and C happens. And then, because we've seen it time and time again. So I'm trying to get to grips with what this French ball is. Do I think it fits? No. Do I like watching it? No. But right now, he's my manager, and he's wearing the shirt, and I want him to get us a result in the next game, and I want it to be better. So right now, I don't know what to do, Chris, because I get that we can't change the managers all the time, but there are fits. There's certain managers that does fit a side. We've seen managers that go to different sides that don't fit. We've seen Moisey go to Man United and it didn't fit, but go back to Everton and it makes sense. You know, there's certain managers and certain styles that fit. And right now, he's giving me nothing that I can hold on to go, oh, yeah, I can back you and I can see why we're doing what we're doing. It just seems like negative, playing not to lose type of football. And, you know, a clean sheet is a win.
Well, talking of negative, let's hear from Spurs boss Thomas Frank.
Another clean sheet, but struggling to create.
Yeah, bang on. I think
another clean sheet, but struggling to create.
Yeah, bang on. I think the positive is that we're going here against a very good home team that you need to respect with results they've done, where they're beating Liverpool, United, Newcastle, Villa, drawing with Chelsea, and keeping them on that low amount of chances. Chances and shots. Has 7 shots in total. I think that's a very, very strong defensive performance. I think the back four did excellent. The whole team did excellent, especially Mickey and Romero did very well with Thiago and Kevin Chado up there. So that's a positive. I think the amount of unforced errors is the biggest negative, I would say, and I think that's the bit where you can say you make too many mistakes there on unforced technical areas that then take out 8, 9 maybe good half transitions where you're not getting into good positions, and then when we were up there lack the cutting edge on the day.
Felt like the fans voiced their frustrations at you in particular when you went over at the end.
Yeah, I think it seems like they were not too satisfied, and it's fair. I think when we don't hit a top performance overall, but I think it's double-sided, because I think what we need to understand is the acknowledgement of the defensive side of the game, which we've done excellent today against a team that just scored 3 against Liverpool, 3 against Man United, so on and so on. But of course, the offensive part needs to be better. There's no two ways about that. Yeah.
I asked you very quickly about your bench. You had 2 goalkeepers, no Brennan Johnson. It didn't feel like you had a lot of options to change today.
No, that's true. It's true.
Can I ask you about Brennan not being there?
Yeah, obviously there is some rumours out there, and it's probably close to some of the rumours.
Thomas, you said about having to respect Brentford and the attacking threat they've had against the likes of Liverpool and other teams. How aware are you, how conscious are you of wanting to be entertaining for the fans, because you saw how frustrated they were, and coupling that with trying to be defensively visible?
Yeah, but I think there's 2 things in it. I think if you as a team are not strong defensively, and that's not the same that you can't play offensive football, it's just impossible to compete over a long season. Impossible. If you want to end in the nice, good position you'd like to end in. Then of course the offensive part of it, so there's also a little bit, you need to open up enough and do that, and I think we still do that. Then there is another element. It is no matter what shape, offensive, defensive you are, you can't make the amount of unforced error we do today, for example, or last game against Crystal Palace. That's the bit we need definitely see we can improve. And then the next bit is you need to work on the offensive patterns and the structure, and keep working very hard on that. And then the final bit is probably a little bit some of the some key offensive players out for a game like this, for example, the ones we talked about a lot. And then on top of that, Xavi and Lucas. So probably that didn't help as well.
But do you worry about losing the faith of the fans if you don't play a bit more attacking?
Of course we need to play. It's not that we don't want to play offensive or attacking football. I just think when we're not, how can you say, on the top of the game we would like to be, we'll work very, very hard on that. But while you work hard on that, you can't, if we struggle scoring goals, let's say that, or create enough chances, you can't open up too much, because then you need to score too many goals. So it's a fine balance.
Thomas, are you comfortable with Brennan leaving when you've got such limited attacking options?
I think it's fair to say that Lucas and Xavi are hopefully soon back with the team that are attacking options. So that's some element. Hopefully Sri Lanka at one stage also will come back and help the team, and then that should be fine. And then we, as I said, we are in the market, and we are looking for everything we can to see if we can improve the squad. But it's a difficult January window. and we need to be calm and take the right decisions.
Can we just ask finally about Dominic Solanke, because I know you haven't wanted us to ask, when he hasn't come back, but after the press conference the other day, there was the video released by Spurs when he was training, so that seems pretty optimistic, pretty positive news.
Yeah, so that is positive, no doubt of that. He's out there on the pitch and train with the group.
Does that feel like he could be back this month?
It feels that there could be a possibility for that, yeah.
So, Thomas, respectfully, it must be difficult to hear the boos at the end when you're still clearly trying to win over the hearts and minds of the fans. It must be a difficult atmosphere, a difficult perception for you.
Yeah, of course you prefer everyone is happy and we're winning 3-0. I think it's the understanding of where we are right now as a team and as a club. I think that's the transparent view of it. I think we have to play with Archie as a 10, or I decided to do that. I know we did a little bit different in the end of the game. So that's just, it's step by step when we do those things. And I'm very confident we will make it fluent and better and scoring enough goals. But with the amount of games and the limited training times and the right offensive players available, it's part of it. It's no problem.
Do you think they are understanding, or do you think they need to be more understanding?
That question is very difficult for me to answer. We're going off a few boos after the game, and I say I'm not really reading anything on social media or articles and all that. I watch the team. I'm very aware that we are not where I want us to be. Very aware.
2 clean sheets and 2 successive London derbies, quick succession away from home this week, 4 points out of 6. Are you slightly surprised at the response, that it's not been a fruitless week?
No, I agree. I think it's too. I think this league is so tight. Just look at the results today and what was it? It was yesterday or 2 days ago. So tight, so even. There's small margins that change games. So I think we put a lot of foundation work into those 2 performances and competitiveness that you need to have in the team, and then we need to add the next layers. And it's not that we're not working on it. So it is what it is. I know we'll get where we want to go. Maybe it's not exactly where everyone wanted to be right now, but we'll get there.
Are you confident that people in the club understand the argument that you've put forward to us tonight?
Very confident. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Leigh, let's get your reaction to Thomas Frank's comments there. Very confident that the board are behind him, the club are behind him. Again, talks very positively about the defensive side of the game, which is not going to be music to the ears of many Spurs fans, because to dare is to do. It's all about our attacking play. It's all about our style. I'll tell you what, and also let me add in the question. It frustrated me this evening. Players like Mohamed Kudos, players like Pedro Porro, where they could have taken different decisions by playing the ball forward so many times, and they chose to go back. Mohamed Kudos, who I'm a big fan of, by the way, start of the season, absolutely fantastic. It just seems to be very different now. He beats 1 or 2 players and then tries to take on more players rather than give the ball at the right time. Wrong decision making. But let's first get your reaction of Thomas Frank's comments there.
Well, I mean, obviously he's got to try and find the positives. I mean, if he comes out and says that was terrible, we're screwed, then that doesn't help anyone. So I think I understand what he was doing. I think Ricky alluded to it earlier about this sort of there's this foundational phase here to fix post Ange, and then that's the foundation that we can go and express ourselves. I get that. The tricky bit is we're whatever it's 5 or 6 months in, including pre-season, I think. And if we're still talking about we're in the first phase and we can't do the second phase because people are out, and if we open up, we'll get beat and we won't be able to score goals. That was the comment that worried me, actually, because if he'd just come out and said, look, it was a battling performance. wasn't great, but you know, we're going to get there. I would respect that. But I think this idea that you've got, and I think Ange was guilty of this, of just talking about how much time they needed. You're not going to get the time. So that comment around, like, basically we're struggling to score goals, so if we opened up, we'd concede and we wouldn't be able to score enough goals back. It just felt like that. If that's the message that's going out to the players, then they are going to pass sideways and backwards. So I think that was a bit worrying. I think the Kudos point, yeah, I don't know I thought, why can't he play Kudos at 10? Why can't he play Kudos at 10 and play, you know, Tell or someone, you know, wide? Because Kudos, I think, played 10 earlier, like in the, maybe it was even the Super Cup, I can't remember. But he looks more dangerous there. I agree with you. I think he's overplaying. But I worry about that bit just because they just look like they're sort of unclear of what they're meant to be doing. And so they're trying to do it all themselves. But I would like to see, I definitely would like to see Kudos come into the middle. I think for Frank, he's a bit on a hiding to nothing, but unfortunately your point about a few boos is, I think sometimes you're better off just taking it on the chin and go, yeah, it wasn't good enough. And, you know, I'm not going to comment beyond that, but yeah, he's trying to find the positives, I guess, ultimately.
Blake, do you want to add anything to Thomas Frank's comments there?
Yeah, just adding on, I think Leigh's absolutely spot on with his comments, but I think also it wasn't just a few boos, and rightly so. I think he did point out as well that it was deserved. The only thing I'd add into that is that sometimes it is okay to just say it wasn't good enough. Our previous managers have all said that, not even just Ange. Beyond that, it was Conte and Mourinho. They're going to be very honest, of course. That's in their nature. But I think sometimes he says too much and overanalyzes. I think Rick said that earlier as well, and Leigh. But it's quite obvious that something is not quite working, and players are not having the same confidence that they had before. But yeah, as I said, what was really frustrating about tonight as well was that we had a chance to push on to 7th and back into European spots into the new year. It would have been a great start to 2026, but it kind of feels like a chance gone begging, and it felt like the reason that he went into that presser quite positive because that is how he sees it. He sees it as a positive thing that we've gone to Brentford and got a 0-0 draw, where I don't think he's aligning with how fans feel about that we shouldn't be scared going to Brentford. That's been the really frustrating part for me as a fan as well, is like we are a far better team than that. We should be pushing for those European spots every single season and pushing on. And the fact that we're going to Brentford and hoping for a draw, fingers crossed, let's go there and you know, be solidly defensive, and that's all well and good. But to have no shots on target in the first half again for the 13th time this season, to me, is unacceptable as a Spurs fan. We want to be on the front foot, and we are just not seeing that at the moment. So, yeah, understand his sentiment around the press conference and probably saying that that's fair from Spurs fans. But I think in his mind, he's probably quite happy with that result today.
Ricky, did you want to add anything about Thomas Frank's comments there?
I mean, he spoke about having to play Gray in the 10, and I don't think that was. I mean, I would have liked a braver decision from him. Like Leigh was saying there earlier, there's many a combination that you could have thrown up there, but you know, but that's where he comes from, and in his press conference, it sounded like how I started. You know, I spoke about what the things he would be happy with, and he basically said them. You know, what he was happy with, and this is what Frank Ball is. This is what I've not seen enough to say that going forward it's going to change. Tonight, the biggest compliment you can give Tottenham is that we played like Brentford, and Thomas Frank will love that. Not from my point of view, not from these gentlemen's point of view, but from his point of view, he will. I think he will love that. I mean, he spoke very fondly of Brentford tonight and their dangers, right? And how many goals that they've scored against other teams. This is what I'm saying about letting the opposition worry about you and don't worry about them. And so I think he worries way too much about every single other team that we play. I feel that, you know, like we make a lot of bad teams look good when we play against them, and I feel that that's down to tactics as well. But right at the end there, he said that he's very confident that the board are going to back him and that he's going to stick around. And this is what I'm saying. So this is where I'm at right now. Instead of going absolutely mental and losing my head, I'm trying to think, okay, cool. Well, where are we going to go from here? And hopefully there's something that we can build on going forward. I'm waiting for that thing to click. I'm waiting for that to jump in. I don't know, man. The more he speaks, the more I don't really like him as a Tottenham manager. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, man. I'm trying to be neutral and I'm trying to be balanced, and I'm not talking about emotion, but there's certain things that he says and the way that he says it. It's just that I just don't like him no more. And the answers that he gives to certain questions, I don't like the way that he kind of responds to it. And mate, I don't know where we're going, but I'm really hoping that whatever he's got, the fact that he said he recognized that certain things wasn't good enough, which I've heard before as well. I really hope that starts to pay off. I really hope for all of us. I hope that it starts to pay off. And the last thing on just loyal fans, you know, like Thomas Frank, he's been in the job for like 5 minutes. You don't know what a loyal Tottenham fan is, my friend. You've been there for 5 minutes. What you are is a loyal Brentford fan, and you're loyal to what you just came from. Do you know what I mean? Which is absolutely fine. We get it. You're Brentford's Pochettino in a way. Do you know what I mean? So we get it. But I swear to you, like, take it easy with the fans, because once they switch, once it goes, it's gonna go. So it's just like, I don't know what to say anymore. I really don't. He confuses me, bro. And it's just like every time that he speaks, there's a little bit more of me that's trying to stay balanced, but just ends up not liking him a little bit more. Do you know what I mean?
I completely agree with those comments you've just said. Ricky, on Brennan Johnson, of course, in the last 24 hours, we were given the here we go from Fabrizio Romano. He wasn't at the game today because he is finalising the move to Crystal Palace. A official statement will be released very, very soon. He is signed for Crystal Palace. Who's the better club at the moment, Crystal Palace or Spurs? Have we just strengthened one of our biggest rivals? Because is this why Thomas Frank is so pleased? The fact that we got 3 points against Palace and we got a point this evening against Brentford. Because are these our biggest rivals, being a mid-table club right now?
I mean, maybe from his point of view, that's what it sounds like. What he says gives evidence to what you're saying there, to your argument, Chris. When it comes down to Brennan, firstly, like, Brennan is always going to be a legend at Tottenham Hotspur. You know, he is always going to be a legend for not just that winning goal, especially for that winning goal, but for the goals that he scored in the league last year as well, because that kept us in it at a really tough spot, and we know what tough circumstances we were under last year. So thank you for that. You know, thank you for that winning goal. My goodness. Thank you for the memories, my friend, for that night and the parade, and seeing you on that stage, Chris, when he was drunk and he was just loving life. It was his birthday as well. And he just kept coming back to us. And do you know what I mean? He's like, hooray! And then he went and grabbed the cup again. And he came back and he's like, hooray! He absolutely loved it. I'm glad that he's got their memories, especially after a tough couple of seasons at Tottenham. I'm glad he's got that memory. I'm glad we've all got that memory of him. Thank you for everything that he's done. And I really do wish him well. When it comes down to, are we strengthening a rival? It all depends with what we do next. So what do we do with this money? What do we do with the money in the bank? Where do we move now? Like, who are we bringing in? How are we strengthening us? Because I'm assuming that you're making space to bring in players of a higher quality and players that you want at the club, right? Whether that's from a club point of view or from Frank's point of view, these guys are the ones that are going to take us up. There's a lot of change at the board level, and we're under new directionship at the moment. And we're looking to see what change there is from Levy to the new board now, and with Vinay running it. So let's see what they bring in. I'm assuming, like I say, that they've done it to make space. He wasn't getting the game time this year. Should he have been used a bit more? Probably, but he wasn't. So we have always had a problem of selling players. So 35 mil for him, it's not bad really, considering if you look at some of the players that we've let go. I mean, Solomon's going to go potentially for what, 10 million euro end of the season. All right, that's profit, but the majority of the time we lose out on selling players. We always sell cheap. So it's not a bad, it's not profit. It's not the same money that we paid for him, but it's not a bad fee. It's not an end on belly. Do you know what I mean? Where you're trying to like, go on, please take him. £2.50. Go on, you can have him. Please go on, take him. Which is I really wish it would have worked out for him. But anyway, good luck to him, man. Good luck to him. It's all about what we do now. All right, he's gone. Thank you for the contribution. Thank you for those memories, like I say. But like, what happens now? That must mean something, right? That must be something's happening imminently. When we want Tottenham to act early in the transfer window, this is their opportunity. This is the opportunity for that board to show their change. This is the opportunity to bring in that higher quality. This is the opportunity to back your chat, put your money where your mouth is, and go out there and get the jewel in the crown that is going to take us forward. Let's go now. So let's not wallow about what we've lost. Bring something in that makes us excited, and then we ain't got much to say. Do you know what I mean? Apart from thanks and good luck.
Leigh, let's come to you on your thoughts about Brennan Johnson leaving Tottenham Hotspur. And when you think about the sub-bench this evening away at Brentford, 2 goalkeepers, Kinski, Austin, Dragushin, Danso, Tell, Davis, Cowlin, Mawani, Scarlett, and Olasesi. It's a very thin bench, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really, really thin. I obviously, he's going to be a legend at our club forever. I found him to watch quite a frustrating player, I'll be honest. Great finisher, but for someone with his pace, his lack of confidence to take people on would sort of send me potty. My biggest worry with it or head scratch is the timing. Because, it's January the 1st and he's gone or going. And we've all been here before, right? Where we go, oh, they must have someone lined up. Maybe they've got someone lined up. But my gut says, well, maybe not, right? And then you read that Paratici is going to be leaving. Sounds like pretty much done to Fiorentina. And you're like, well, okay, well, unless they've got done deals, but why wouldn't we have heard about it? So I'm not opposed to us selling him. I agree with what Ricky said. We've got a terrible record of, like, if you think about players as assets, we basically buy assets and then run them down to have no value, and then they leave for free, or we just loan them out and run the contract down. So it's at least good we got some money in, but I just don't have the confidence in our team, or our club rather, to fill the space that he's going to vacate. And we already need a left winger. There's talk of Tell being loaned out as well. So I'm a little bit apprehensive, really. So on the one hand, I think, yeah, maybe it's a good move to get it early, but it's totally based on the premise that we've got other players coming in. And history tells us that we've sat here on deadline day, with our fingers crossed. So who knows? So I'm really hoping for everyone's sake that a new signing is announced, in the next week, frankly.
Interestingly, Fabio Paratici was actually in the director's box at Brentford today, but it is expected that he will go out the door this week. Blake, your thoughts on Brennan Johnson leaving?
Johnson again, ole, ole. It's honestly, it's a memory that will live in my mind forever. I actually drive my wife bonkers with it all the time, how much I sing it, and she goes, "Are you singing that again?" But it's a memory that's going to live in my mind forever. Because
you want to stay married for a bit, Blake. Don't be doing that.
Yeah, thanks, Leigh. I'll keep it in mind. But I think it's actually, I agree with Leigh's sentiment that it's very, very odd timing that he's going out the door in January. And our history shows that we do not replace players quickly, or it will be one of those scenarios where, you look at the Sonny on the left, we haven't replaced that yet. You could argue that we haven't even really replaced a serial goal scorer in Harry Kane, which was how long ago? And that's the honest truth, that we find it really hard to move players on, and we then sell them at a really low price. As Rick said, 35 is a good deal for Brennan, but I think there's players ahead of him that I would be moving out the door first. Perhaps he doesn't fit the Frank ethos because he was always in the right spots for that sort of dart in from the wing and at the back post for a tap in usually. But it does worry me, the timing of it, because you'd want to hope within the next week that somebody's through the door, certainly, because we are already short on attacking options and we've been horrendous at getting replacements quickly. My worry is we're going to have a repeat of the manager calling for signings in January. And look, all full disclosure, we understand that the January window is hard to do business. It's for clubs that are topping up, looking to improve their squad. Fees are probably a little bit higher, and we can fully appreciate that as fans. But as long as the club is going out and doing some business and not waiting until deadline day like they did last January, I think we've got to have something lined up. Otherwise, it could be disastrous. It really could. We're already short. Like as Chris said, there were 2 keepers on the bench, 3 defenders. Are we a thin squad, or are we just sort of picking players to fill spots at the moment just for the sake of it? Brennan wasn't there today, obviously signing for Palace, done deal. But yeah, I'm going to miss him, and I think we've just got to have somebody lined up for sure.
Blake, what are your expectations of the transfer window? Because, like Leigh said, the timing of it, it just seemed really off to me. If you had someone like an Antoine Semenyo lined up, and we knew that someone of that quality and calibre is going to be walking through the door, of course there'll be a lot of excitement. But, Thomas Frank has said on numerous occasions this week that the January transfer window is very difficult. We all know, as realistic football fans, that you don't get superstars in a January transfer window, but surely the board have got to strengthen this squad because, like I said earlier about, we have still got, we're still within touching distance of a top European spot. This second half of the season is so important to grab that opportunity. But also what worries me is the fact that Thomas Frank says so often, this is not a quick fix. So where should our expectations as Spurs fans be? Should we be expecting that we're going to finish in a European spot with a decent transfer window? Or is he trying to tell us that if we finished 11th, 12th, 13th, mid-table in the Premier League, then it's a success given that we finished 17th, which he has reminded us of a lot of times?
Well, as a Spurs fan, I know historically that we just struggle to do business in all windows. Let's be honest about it. Even in summer, we are so hit and miss with what we bring in the summer. And it's always because we go for the cheap option, it feels, or it feels like it's like the steal buy. So we go after it. I live in hope because they've come out and said 150 million will be available in the January window. Fantastic. That's great. Great that those funds are available. I worry that Fabio Paratici's departure is going to hinder us a little bit because of his connections and the way that he does business. And I've seen the way that Johan Lang does business, and it worries me because he's going to go for youth. He's going to try and get a penny pinch deal somewhere. I hope I'm wrong because that seemed like a bit of a Levy structure as well when he was in charge. But they have to go out and be ambitious in this transfer window. That's me as a Spurs fan as well, speaking here. But I think I've just come to lower my expectations on what we're actually going to get. And you know what? It's one of those things. It's the same way that we play. If you go out on the front foot, have a go, we lose 4-3, well, we had a crack. You know what I mean? And it's the same in the transfer window. If we actually look like we're going to do business and throw serious money at a Semenyo, 80 million, let's get him through the door in January, because that shows intent that you want to go and push on. We've not ever spent that sort of money. Maybe it has to be a record-breaking window where we spend money on a big player. But on the flip, you don't typically get big players through the door in January. That sort of happens when contracts lapse, when players are looking for a move in the summer for a clean break and a fresh start. I think realistically, we're going to get to halfway through January. There might be one through the door that they had lined up in the summer and didn't quite happen, but the player was interested. And then there might be a second where it's like a loan with obligation to buy by the end of the window. I just see how these things go. I don't have a lot of confidence in Johan Lang to get deals done, especially without Paratici there. Just my take on it. I hope I'm wrong. Hope it's better, and we live in with positivity.
Last question for you all. Ricky, let's come to you first. Of course, Spurs face Sunderland on Sunday at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium back in the Premier League. Sunderland are currently 7th. They have 29 points from the opening 19 games at this halfway point. I don't think any football fan, even their own supporters, thought that they would be only 4 points away from the top 4 at this halfway point, having been promoted from the Championship last season. What have you made of Sunderland this season? And of course, they drew 0-0 at home against Manchester City this evening. What have you made of Sunderland this season, and what are you expecting? Because this is not going to be an easy game. And I know it's an old cliche, but there are no easy games in the Premier League. Spurs have got a very, very tough schedule again in January. 8 games, including tonight. So we've got 7 remaining games in January. It's very important for the transfer window as well, isn't it, that we actually bring players in early. I know Frank spoke there in his press conference about Dominic Solanke perhaps being back in January. We have heard that before. And also what I wanted to add, what is a little bit of a concern to me, is the fact that when Frank is asked straightforward questions in press conferences, he sometimes shies away from it. He shuts people down and says, no, don't ask me that again about Solanke. And when he spoke out about Brennan Johnson, twice this week, he has said that Brennan Johnson is a very important player for Tottenham. Why would you say that?
You would say that to deflect. You would say that to keep your own kind of, for want of a better word, ego intact. If it fell through, for instance, so you keep that shield up. So if it all falls through lastminute.com, then you say, well, look, I've always thought that Brennan Johnson was an important player, and we welcome him back into the team. It didn't work out, so yada yada yada. So you do it almost as a protection. For yourself and for the club, depending on who's giving him that direction. But that's why you do that.
But the other thing, Ricky, apparently in the last 24 hours, he actually took the players to one side and said, "You're not in our plans."
But this is what comes from Frank. There's a lot of contrast, right? There's a lot of contrast in words and actions, and this is another one. Look, Brennan's not silly. He and his agents, the same way that the rumours came out about a week ago or so. I don't know now. I'm losing my head with days. But the links with Palace. So he's not silly. He would have known that there was an opportunity to go there. And it's just got to that point where things had been agreed. He would have had to sit down and work out wages and terms and conditions as well. So he's been allowed to do that. So pulling him to a side and saying that you're not in the plans is probably the best thing for Johnson and Palace and the club right now to go get it done. They must want to push that through for a reason. This is what I'm really hoping. I'm trying not to look at our past and try and go, okay, well, this is the moment of change. There's no Levy here right now. So what is this moment of change? And I'm really hoping for a better outcome and that things will happen early. And, that was the reason that they got him through the door. And I agree with Blake when it comes down to getting people. There's others that are higher up on the list to kind of sell, but maybe this was the one that was the most interested, the earliest to get that ball rolling. So this is the hopes that I have with that. But yeah, it's contrasting, Chris. It's contrasting. And what do I think of Sunderland was the other part of the question. Sunderland they're riding that wave. They're riding that wave of coming up to the Premiership. being promoted, having a good transfer window. Gertruda is a guy that I've liked, Dutch footballer, but can play various positions. And he's come in and done well at Sunderland. Jacques has done well in controlling the midfield. They've got some nice youth and pace and power around them, and they're riding that wave. If you saw, I only saw the end of it as Tottenham finished, and saw the end of the Man City game tonight. But their house was absolutely rocking. They are, the sound in that stadium was, it was above normal, let me tell you. The decibels were very, very high. So they are riding that wave, and, they've got the points on the board to prove it. And we need to be ready. We need to step up, and we need to be ready rather than being passive. We need to go at them and get those shots and get those goals on the board so that we can then be defensive afterwards. But let's go at them. But they've done really, really well. Well done, Sunderland, especially for a promoted side. Doing tremendous, mate. They're doing tremendous. I hope we was doing that well.
Leigh, what about you? How are you feeling ahead of the Sunderland game on Sunday?
Frozen?
Of course, Javi Simmons will still be out suspended. What do you think in terms of team selection, and how are you looking forward to this game? Are you looking forward to this game?
Not really, no. It's ginormous banana skin, isn't it? I mean, that's what it is. I think I've watched any Sunderland games, to be honest with you. So I don't feel too informed on how they play. I have a soft spot for them because the whole Sunderland Till I Die Netflix series was great. You think they were down in the second division or whatever it was. So fair play to them. They are going to be absolutely pumped to come in. Like Granit Xhaka, like the idea of that guy smashing a 30-yarder in against us, it would be way too much. But it might happen. So I think it's going to be really tough. And I think what Ricky was talking about earlier on about the fan base and like don't poke the bear too much, because this game, like we might win this game 1-0 or we might draw it. We may not lose it, I guess is my point. But if we serve up another turd to display like we have done the last couple, and the home fan base turns, you won't get them back. You just won't. So I think it's a really ginormous banana skin. I think it's probably the most important game in Frank's tenure, because Sunderland are going to come they're going to come with it. We got nothing to lose. We just drew with City at home. They beat Chelsea away. So I'm not going to. I will watch it, of course, but to say I'm looking forward to it is probably a bit of a stretch. But hopefully we do the business. But we still got, to your point about Simon's out, we're still going to struggle creatively. Hopefully Lucas Bergval's back, so we get a little bit of creativity back in midfield. But like I said earlier, I'd like to see Kudos moved into the middle and see what he can create from there. And let's hope for the best.
Blake, what about you? What are you thinking ahead of this game? And I touched on what Leigh said there about our home record in 2025, only picking up 15 points. A terrible, terrible home record. We have heard boos at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium so often under Thomas Frank and, of course, under Ange Postecoglou. It has been a tough 2025. 2026 needs to be a lot better at home, doesn't it?
It does, and I fear that Sunderland are going to come to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium very hopeful because of our poor record. I think what we can't do is we can't go in with the same thing over and over again, which is minimal shots, take the practical shot, I'm sure is probably what he's preaching to his players, and sort of sit back and hope. I think when you're at home, you've got the crowd behind you. You've got to go for having the ball at your feet. You've got to go for having more shots. Have a crack. Like the amount of times I was looking at the game today and watching and thinking, oh, could be a shot there, and they just don't take them. I'm not quite sure why that's happening, but we certainly can't go into the Sunderland game without having a go. I think that's going to be very, very important. Do not sit back. Do not double pivot against them at home. And at the moment, maybe that's the double pivot's the only way that we can get by, because we don't really seem to have that creative midfielder that's available to us. As Leigh said, hopefully Bergval's available or they change something up. But for me at the moment, I'm not overly confident going into that game. The Sunderland are riding the high of being in the Premier League. They've had some great results home and away. Drawing with City at home is a big result. They'll be coming in confident, and it just feels like we're getting by at the moment and we're happy sitting back and happy just picking up a point here and there or grinding out a result. I don't think we can go into this game with that mentality, gents, to be brutally honest with you. We've got to be on the front foot, having a go, have some shots. Don't get to half-time with not a shot on target. I think that's going to just frustrate me as a fan, and I'm sure many fans and viewers listening all around the world. But that's my take on it. It's not going to be easy. I hope we can shift things quickly and have a go.
Yeah, well said there, Blake. And I tell you what, I think that's the one thing for me that really upsets me when I see that we don't actually go for it. That's the thing that hurts me most, because a Tottenham side, it don't matter what era it is, what year we're in, or what manager we've got, what players we've got, we should always be going for it and give 100%. Not sitting back. Ricky,
sorry, Chris. I was just going to say quickly as well. If you look back at his early press conferences when we were getting early results, to not take a risk is a risk in itself. So how about we have a go? Go and be daring and do it. That would be my message to Thomas if he's listening. I don't know if players watch the show or not. I'm sure they probably do have a gander, but why not just get on the front foot? Kudos. If you get past one or two players, dribble up the wing, get the ball in quickly, whip it in. Pedro Porro, get it at your feet, whip it in and have a shot. I think that's how I'd be looking to play. But we certainly can't have the turgid football that we've been watching for the last few weeks, that's for sure.
Can I just say to all of the viewers and listeners, apologies for the lack of structure during this podcast this evening. I haven't even done the lineup, haven't even gone through minute by minute of the game. But this game, I tell you what, if you didn't see it, it wasn't worth doing that. So this is exactly why we've had the discussion we've had. Do any of you want to give me a score prediction, or should we skip that bit?
Skip it.
Fine. No problem. Ricky, Happy New Year to you. Thank you so much for all what you do on this channel. And where can people find you? What are you up to? Have you got anything exciting coming up that we can smile about?
Bless you, bruv. Bless you. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to Blake and Leigh, and like I say, all of you beautiful people around the world. Always an honor and a pleasure to be on. Win, lose, or draw. We get through it together, guys. We get through it together. Hopefully, there are brighter days ahead. Where can you find me? You know where you can find me. You can find me on X at Ricky J Norwood, where mostly I post Tottenham stuff, and Chris and T talk and Tottenham stuff. You can find me on the next podcast with Chris. Hopefully, we'll see. He might hand it over to Craig next.
If there is one night when I needed Craig Dearman to be hosting this podcast, it was today.
Really take the mood down,
right? But no. Listen. No, well, hopefully I see you on this next on the next podcast after the next game. And also, T Talk and Tottenham is the podcast I do with me and my childhood friend that I grew up with. T Talk and Tottenham, all one word in YouTube. It's just us two having a boys' chat. Do you know what I mean? We normally have it over WhatsApp. But now we've turned it into a bit of a podcast where it's just an excuse for us to get together and chat about what's just happened in Tottenham life. So we look backwards on the last couple of games and we see the ebbs and flows and seeing if we're progressing at all. I mean, we all know the answer to that. But yeah, so that's what's happening in between, and then events and whatnot's going on. I will let you know. But this year, I will have 2 movies coming out. So when those announcements drop, I will let you know. And but yeah, hoping for the best this year. Let's make it happen, all of us, gents. Let's take 2026 into a new stratosphere. Let's learn the lessons from 2025 and make sure that we fly this year. All right, all of us. Let's go get it.
Thomas Frank included. Leigh, thank you so much. Leigh, thanks so much for joining us. What are you up to at the moment?
Well, just finishing the holidays. I run an advertising agency in Manhattan, so I've got to go back to work Monday. So I go back to the city on Sunday. I'm out in Long Island at the moment. Back to reality, back to school, all that stuff. Major diet and dry January. They're the things that are happening. But dry January starts Sunday, right? That's my excuse anyway.
Yeah, I've actually done the typical January thing, Leigh. I've rejoined the gym, so it's going to be back in the gym now. So
good for you, mate.
Get some of this aggression out.
Yeah.
And Blake, thanks so much for joining us. And what are you up to? Anything exciting?
Oh, gents, great to be on with you to start off 2026. All things good. Rick, I just wanted to say as well, love Talking Tottenham. Been tuning in where I can. You guys have a great laugh on there, which is amazing. I'm looking forward to your movies.
Thank you,
Leigh, hope the dry January goes well. Chris, Jim, getting into it. 2026 for me, I think mostly enjoying married life for me, to be honest, mate. Trying to enjoy Spurs football. Plenty on the go as always. Getting back into work on Monday as well. Australia retain the Ashes, so sorry everyone. I know I couldn't get through a show without mentioning it, Leigh.
Mate.
But in all honesty, just enjoying life at the moment as much as possible. And I love coming on this show, even if the result's not the way that we wanted it, because it's great connecting with other Spurs fans there. You know, it's football's not king in Australia, and I love coming on to talk football with you guys and to all the listeners and viewers out there. Hope you have a very safe and happy New Year, and come on, you Spurs!
Come on.
Ricky, Leigh, Blake, thank you so much for your time this evening. I know it's never easy. I was going to say never easy talking about a defeat. It feels like a defeat to me, but it was a 0-0 draw. It was a very boring 0-0 draw. Let's hope the Spurs can get back to winning ways on Sunday against Sunderland at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Happy New Year. Thanks so much for your support as always, and we will see you soon. Come on, you Spurs.
Come.